Hello everyone, I just want to start this off by saying that this video is going to be a bit of a different type of video than I normally make. Instead of making a video on a new money making method or a tutorial on something, today I'm going to be talking about the bridge that all players must cross in Skyblock. Of course, this only applies if you actually play Skyblock consistently, as you won't find this problem if you punch some wheat for a few hours, then log off and never take a second glance at Skyblock. We actually see this happen 3 times in the game, so let's talk about that. Before we get deep into the video, there are a few things that I want to say to give you all a general idea of what I'm talking about. In Skyblock, all players are characterized into one of 4 categories: early game, mid game, late game, and end game. Early game is the shortest of all the categories, and end game is the longest if you decide to continue playing. Mid game is probably the category you try the hardest in though. In mid game, you bounce around between a lot of money making methods, ultimately trying to get out of mid game and into late game. We'll talk about how this happens in just a second, but let's start with the first bridge, which is early game to mid game. Early game starts when you start the game. These are the beginner players, and most will unlock the end and grind summoning eyes to their heart's content, and maybe will start farming or mining. In this time, it's probably a good idea to unlock the Dwarven Mines, as that is a big help for later in the game. Of course, you can unlock it later, but it adds a bit of variety to what you can do. How long you're in early game depends on how you play the game. Some people can just be out in a day or 2, some people a week, and some take a few months. It is very fluid, just like all other stages of the game, and can bend and mold your preferences. The first bridge that we'll cross is the one from early game to mid game, and to make it a bit easier to understand, I'll make these 2 boxes with some of the basic criteria for each. Most people will get out of early game when they get Storm Armor and a Spirit Scepter, or Necron and a Livid Dagger. This unlocks a few higher floors of the dungeons, which couldn't be completed in the Shadow Assassin most people get. When the player gets these items, they become mid-game. Mid-game is probably the most bendable section of the game that there is. The gap in net worth or time spent in it changes so much from person to person. Some people take around a month to get into late game, usually by grinding as much as they can, and others, like myself, take over a year to do it. In fact, I wouldn't even consider myself late game yet, but I'm definitely balancing on the edge of mid. The reason it takes so long is quite simple. Some people can sit down and grind one thing for hundreds of hours, creating a good setup and can get the money needed to get out of mid game. Other people, like myself, prefer to bounce around between a whole bunch of things, creating this empire of alright setups. To give you guys an example, I'm Catacombs 30 and have great Slayer stats. I have a Warden helmet and golden fishing armor. I've got double digits of full island farms, at least one for almost every crop. I have minion setups and a mining setup, and I have almost 1 million of each type of powder. The point is, I don't like focusing on just one thing, and would rather do whatever I feel like doing. If you play like this, you will find yourself taking a lot longer to cross each bridge. This bridge is the most controversial. Some people think that it is a net worth thing, and others think it's a total gear type thing, but personally, I believe that it depends on getting one of 2 things. The first thing to get that would really kind of push you over the edge would be a Wither Blade. This could be a Hyperion, Scylla, or really any of the other blades that you can craft with a Necron's handle. This unlocks so much of the game, much more than what was available in mid-game. The other thing that would usually send you over the gap would be a mining setup, and a good one at that. Mining setups usually consist of full Devon's armor, Heart of the Mountain 7, a Skaith pet, and an X55 or a 655 drill. These things combined create a godlike money-making method, probably the best in the entirety of the game. It depends on your method and timing, but some people can make 30 million coins an hour and at least 50 million coins an hour during a mining fiesta. Once you have this, you can make insane amounts of money, which can be used to get other late-game items. The mining route is the one that I'm currently taking. The final bridge to endgame is barely existent, and that is because it doesn't rely on certain net worth or gear at all. In fact, endgame begins when you have nothing else to do. This is where most people stop playing the game, but if you enjoy it still, some people make their own challenges. It depends on what you like to do, but these challenges are usually the only thing that makes you keep playing. You might log back on when a new update releases, but won't play for long as you have really done everything you want to in the game. From there is nowhere left to go. So thank you everyone for watching today's video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Apologies that it wasn't my normal type of content, but I had an idea and I acted on it. Anyways, if you haven't already, consider subscribing, as it does help out the channel quite a bit. Alright, thank you everyone again, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye!